Hello and welcome all into the MO podcast. As always, you're here with me, Contumacious Ant.
And me, Atreya.
And today we are continuing our Nightmares Before Christmas. And on the third day of the Nightmares Before Christmas, my true love gave to me the fall of Armie Hammer. Now, first and foremost, let's cover our bases here because he could be litigious. Armie Hammer has committed no crimes. He has been charged with no offences, and the LA County District Attorney declared that the evidence was weak and wouldn't lead to any charges. That being said, no smoke without fire. Allegedly.
I don't know. It's a tall order to go to for one day to go. He sent me inappropriate texts, and the next day to go. He's a fucking serial killer and a cannibal. It's a big jump for me, you know.
Yeah. Armie Hammer, in case you're wondering, was a Hollywood A-lister. I think he can be called that because he did star with some of the best actors of recent years. Leonardo DiCaprio. He was with
He was with Johnny Depp in The Lone Ranger.
Johnny Depp in Lone Ranger and Henry Cavill in Man from U.N.C.L.E. So he was considered quite up there in his prime, but you may have noticed he's not done any films recently, and that's because of what we're going to talk about. So Armie Hammer was born into a charmed life. His great-grandfather was an oil baron, and his great grandmother was a baroness. Now, I'm not saying everything that he got during his life was handed to him on a silver platter, but his dad...
Sounds a bit like it might have been.
Yeah, his dad did own Armie Hammer Productions, which was a film and television production company. So you can see how he got into that. Now, what we're going to get into is just a trigger warning here. We're going to be talking about the R word and sexual abuse and cannibalism. So if that triggers you in any way, shape or form, then probably don't put yourself through it.
We're going to be talking about the C word, and on this occasion, we're not talking about cancer. Yes, we're talking about cannibalism.
Yes, I thought you were going to say cunts then, but...
And that.
Shit, I've tried to fucking write this that it's friendly, that we can monetize it, but fuck, ruin that.
We'll never be monetized. What are you on about?
Yeah. So, to gauge the overall mentality of the Hammer dynasty, we need to look at Armie's great-grandfather, who was Armand Hammer. Now, Hammer Senior was basically, he kind of got his money from making deals with Lenin, the Soviet Union dictator and mass murderer. He then
named a whole city after himself.
Yeah,
he
did, and put Ukraine to the sword with the famines.
Yeah, he was a bit of a dick.
Yeah,
and you can still see his dead body now, perfectly preserved in a museum.
Yeah,
if you care.
Could be a bit pungent, but so Armand Hammer married rich women as well. He invested their money, and which in turn made more money, as only the rich people can do. He made so much money that he was hobnobbing with Prince Charles, Al Gore, George W. Bush, and every rich person's favourite enabler, Jeffrey Epstein. So...
Okay, right, I'm just going to put it out there that Jeffrey Epstein, right, had a lot of fucking friends, and they didn't all turn out to be, inappropriate people. That's the gentle monetizing word.
Yes. But this was the life that he brought his grandson Hammer Senior into, his great-grandson Hammer Senior. So it goes, Armand's son wasn't on the ball that much. He allegedly killed a man over a gambling debt. So money was exchanged, charges were dropped, but Grandpappy decided to leave his empire to his grandchild, Michael, who was Armie's dad.
It's amazing what money makes go away, isn't it?
It is. It is.
We hear this all the time.
Yeah.
If you've got money, that's it. You rule the world. Doesn't matter what you do. You get away without.
In fairness, he could have just used that money to pay off the gambling debt and not killed the man. But, you know, rich and famous, isn't it?
There's no rules when you have money.
No. Great Granddaddy Hammer.
Charlotte said so.
Yes, indeed. What, in a web?
What?
Charlotte's Web.
No, Good Charlotte.
I know.
Lifestyles of the rich. I'm not talking about Charlotte's Web.
I know.
Yes. Yeah. Please don't. I'm not gonna. Please don't let me talk about Charlotte's Web, okay? Because I have an issue with spiders.
Okay, I thought it was the bit that's upsetting. The
whole of it is upsetting.
Yeah. But anyway, Great Granddaddy Hammer died in 1990. I just call him MC Hammer. Died in 1990. Not the real MC Hammer. He didn't die. He's still alive as far as I know. Unless something's happened between now and pressing record. He's still going. 5 years after Armie was born, Armie was actually named after his great granddaddy. And by all accounts, Michael, who was Armie's dad, was a little bit of a wrong-un as well. Now, this is just speculation, and it's alleged, always, because the only sources I have checked out are Vanity Fair, which I skimmed, and the Daily Mail, which I point-blank refused to read. But apparently Michael had a sex dungeon and a sex throne in the basement of his production company.
I mean, I'm sure he's probably not the only one.
Yeah.
Rich Hollywood people are odd.
Yeah. I mean, it was the
Look at Bohemian Grove.
Exactly. And it was the 90s, and he knew Jeffrey Epstein. So
allegedly. So did everybody. The same as everybody knew Harvey Weinstein. Doesn't mean they're all following in his footsteps. Please don't start on Jay and Silent Bob. I can't cope with that.
Anyways, Armie hit the big time in 2010, and after starring in minor roles in Arrested Development, Gossip Girl, Desperate Housewives, he finally landed a role in the Facebook live show, which was The Social Network. He played one of them twins that Zuckerberg fucked over. But they were dicks. In the next 8 years, he starred alongside the aforementioned sexy actors Leo, Johnny, and Carvel, and he made his name throughout Hollywood. He was nominated for a number of awards. I mean, not big awards, but like Kids' Choice shit and that. But it was at this point, like most douchebag actors do, he decided to concentrate on independent films and legitimize his craft, like Sean Penn. He starred in a few gay cowboys eating pudding films, and by 2018 had taken to the stage like a proper C-word. But just 2 years later, Hammer was forced to withdraw from several projects as an anonymous Instagram account started to release what they claimed were text messages between Hammer and various women. Now, one allegedly said, I mean, there are screenshots of the text, so I don't know why I'm saying allegedly, but they could have been photoshopped, so just covering my own back. One said, "You just live to obey and be my slave. I will own you. If I wanted to, cut one of your toes and keep it with me in my pocket, so I always had a piece of you in my possession."
I mean, he might have been figurative. Like, I'm not sticking up for anybody. I'm just saying, There's always two ways to look at everything. And just because you say you want to cut somebody's toe off doesn't mean you're actually going to do it, right? When I'm behind really slow packers in Asda, I turn around and say to Dave, I want to cut their heads off. But I'm not actually going to cut their head off in the middle of Asda, because that would be a bad move and I'd end up in jail.
True. Very
but
true.
Just because I say it doesn't mean I do it, you know?
Indeed.
I've texted quite a few people saying, stuck behind an arsehole who's a slow packer in Asda, gonna cut their head off in a minute if they don't hurry up. But again, didn't do it.
Yeah. Another text claimed that I am 100% a cannibal. I want to eat you. I've cut the heart out of a living animal before and eaten it while still warm.
Right, okay. A,
No.
he might have been high. And B, he might have also been being rude. I'm a cannibal and I want to eat you. In that kind of way.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, he's not the bard. I'll be honest with you.
No, he's not.
He gets to the point quite quickly, I think, with these messages.
Do you think he knows what the word cannibal means? Do you think maybe he just means, like, my auntie and uncle always say that their cat's a cannibal, but they mean that he eats birds. That's not a cannibal, that's a carnivore.
Could be. It could be.
Maybe he meant I'm a carnivore.
Yeah.
Give me your kebab.
Yeah. I mean, that would certainly levy up with the I've cut the heart out of a living animal, because that is what carnivores kind of, maybe not what they do, but that is.
Or maybe he was being bardish. Maybe he was being metaphorical, and maybe he was going, I cut the heart out of a living animal and then I ate it while it was still hot, meaning like I broke this girl's heart and then I fucked her sister while she was in the next room. You just don't know how many, like.
Of course.
He's an actor.
Yeah.
You don't really know what he's meaning when he's saying it.
No, of course.
Anything at this point.
Yeah, especially because he's a lovey and he's been on stage and shit.
Yeah. You know what I mean? That wouldn't be fucking your girlfriend's sister or your ex-girlfriend's sister after you've broke her heart while she's in the next room. That is also frowned upon just as much as cutting out her heart and eating it. Neither is a good scenario at this point. I'm just covering all areas.
Yeah. Interesting to know.
Just one seems more likely than the other. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, very true. It's interesting to note at this point that Hammer had been married since 2010 and had 2 children with his wife.
He was a slag, no doubt about it.
Yeah, so subsequently got divorced, obviously. In February 2021, Hammer was under investigation for a sexual assault allegation in which he was accused of violently R-wording a woman. But these allegations came to nothing as the evidence was too weak to bring charges against him. But the damage had been done to Hammer and his career was pretty much over, and he was last reported to be selling real estate in Florida.
I heard that, but I'm like, that can't be true, surely.
That you've gone. Well, it probably isn't anymore because Michael Hammer died recently, so he
left him a buttload of money.
Probably has taken over that estate and the running of them businesses now, so ka-ching for him there. But he has actually been in a recent film because he couldn't be, I don't know if it was he couldn't be edited out of it or because he has so little screen time. It really doesn't make a difference, but he was in the new Agatha Christie film. It was done by Kenneth Branagh.
Of course he was, yes. In Death on the Nile. I watched it. It was a great movie.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, not because he was in it.
Yeah.
It was just a great movie because it's Agatha Christie and she's brilliant.
Of course, yeah. I would agree 100% with that. But in other projects, I think there was a Tiki Wataka film. He's been edited out and his scenes have been reshot by Will Arnett. But I don't think he wants to have anything to do with any indiscretions because he's too clean cut, isn't he? He's
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, you don't want to lose that Marvel thing you got going there. Take it.
God no, he's very good. But yeah, so that is the fall of Armie Hammer. I mean, there's no crime involved, obviously, allegedly, but
Well, apart from that, they're all going, oh, well, I read a story the other day where they were saying that these 3 or 4 women or something had disappeared. He was staying at this ranch. He hired this ranch or something that he was renovating with his friend or something like that. And 3 or 4 women in the area either disappeared or they were found murdered or something. You can find the article online, and they were saying that it coincided with when Armie Hammer was staying in the ranch, and that he's a serial killer as well as a cannibal and as well as a sexual deviant. Like, yeah, it also could have been anybody else
yeah.
as well.
Oh, they
Like,
could have
there's
just
no-
just.
They
gone
didn't really do
somewhere
any
else.
DNA testing or any. Yeah, they could have just. Yeah, they
Moved.
could have gone down the road. They might have been staying at a motel. People tend to not live there, so yeah. But see, like, don't get me wrong. I watched the full documentary, and like, yeah, okay, I get it. He was quite definitely a bit of a perv. He was definitely a player,
Yeah.
but at the same time as he was getting accused of all these things, so was Johnny Depp.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
everyone just cut Johnny Depp out of their lives, like, oh, Johnny Depp's a wife beater and he's all this and he's that. And then he's proven innocent. And it's like, and then his career effectively was over. His life was over for all these allegations that proved to not be true.
Yeah.
So I kind of think, like, let's not all jump on the bandwagon. Yes, he might have done some horrible things. He might also not have. He might have just been a bit of a perv.
I think
There's this massive difference between a perv and somebody who sexually assaults people or cannibalizes them.
Yeah, and I think that is kind of the problem. And not that I want to talk about cancel culture, but I think because Hammer didn't have his day in court and was he was proved innocent in a court of law. I think because he didn't have that, it's just innuendo, and people
Yeah.
are like, oh, no smoke without fire. I mean, I know I opened with that, but anyway. But I think
He might have done it, he might have. We don't know, but he also might just be another victim of, the Johnny Depp wagon.
exactly, and I think it's a detriment to him that he hasn't been in court, because then it can't be proved one way or the other. It's just kind of, it's just whispers and rumours and.
Because didn't his wife say as well that she didn't divorce him because of any of these allegations? She just divorced him because they just kind of weren't on the same page anymore. But that he's still really good with their kids, and he never treated her like that. She never got any indication he was ever like that. And like, yeah, this, Ted Bundy's girlfriend didn't have any idea about that either. So that still doesn't disprove that he might not be a serial killer, But at the same time, like, you might maybe have a little bit of an indication. To be fair, actually, Ted Bundy's girlfriend did actually ring the police and say, hey, I think my Ted is Ted. So if you're married to somebody for that long, you must have some sort of...
Yeah. I mean, not everything goes under the radar, even though you try and hide it. There's little things that And to be honest with you, he was in 3 of the highest grossing movies of like them era. Like, he's got to be some kind of special if he thinks he can get away being that high profile and getting away with that. And he doesn't come. I don't know the guy, but he doesn't really come across as like just a Hollywood dude. He is a player and all that, but he just, I think he's got a little bit about him that would be, especially when he's been brought up in these kind of circles, like, let's say, Jeffrey Epstein circles. They're like, keep your mouth fucking shut. Don't say anything.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. Don't leave a paper trail, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, exactly.
So if he was doing it for real, why would he fall into traps that
Where it
other
was so
people have
obvious.
fell into?
Yeah.
It's just makes no actual sense. But
No. I think the likelihood is he was just a bit of a perv and he had some kind of kinky bondage shit going on. But I think maybe it's that people have misconstrued, because you know how easy it is to misconstrue something in a message. Like when someone's speaking to you face to face, you know,
Oh,
they can
yeah,
be
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you're a dick.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you know they're joking because you can see it in their face. But if you text someone, you're a dick, like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What did I do? Like,
Yeah.
you know, so I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
that's the reason why /s has been invented now, because you can't convey sarcasm over a text message. You can't convey
Exactly, yeah.
irony over a text. It's like, if someone sees that text message, that's like, oh my god, that's word for word what you mean and what you're saying. It's like, well,
Yeah.
no, I'm just trying to have a laugh. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just thought if I kind of got one of those text messages, I'd be like, all right, you twat. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
Each to their own, or, yeah, I'm a serial killer as well. Or something shit. And you would just like, I would just like joke on back with them. I wouldn't be like, oh my God, you're going to cut my toe off.
yeah. And again, like I say,
I'd just be like, how can you cut my toe off if I cut your head off first?
yeah, I'll just stab you in the heart, dickhead.
Yeah.
Deal with that. But as well, there's screenshots of these text messages, but there's screenshots of everything nowadays.
Yeah.
We've seen Bigfoot on Mars. Fuck's sake! Do you know what I mean? It's like,
It's where he goes when he's not in the Appalachian Mountains.
yeah, we've seen Loch Ness Monster. So there's pictures everywhere of everything, but they are not necessarily the real thing. But
I just think like I just think a text is nothing. Like unless you've got some sort of like proper evidence, like video evidence or a witness account
or a missing
from somebody,
toe or something. Like,
yeah, like I just don't think it's just a long stretch between saying you're going to do something in a text message and actually doing it.
Yeah, it's yeah. So yeah, I mean,
But I do think he's a kinky bitch.
yeah, he probably is.
And I would avoid him at all costs,
got
but I also don't think he's going to eat me.
Yeah, he's just inherited a sex throne. So
Yeah, I do think his family were a bit like Bohemian Grovey kind of thing. That's what I got from the documentary, is that his family were proper money, Bohemian Grove style.
but that's the thing. What money gets you, it enters you into them circles, like you say. Like it enters you into the circles of where you can make crimes disappear and make people disappear up to a point. But I don't think it's something. Acting is something he wanted to do, and his father Michael made fun of him for actually going into acting, because he wanted him to be a business person. He wanted him to make money, and he was condescending to Armie about his acting ability. Why are you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? Yet he kind of winged it because he had a production company behind him, but
yeah, a bit of a head start.
He landed some good roles, and he got good reviews for them roles. Like opposite Leonardo DiCaprio, he was said to be a good foil to the was J. Edgar Hoover. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't take that away from him. He's a good actor.
Yeah. So yeah, I just think
Ted Bundy was a good lawyer.
Yeah. Okay. Dangerous.
Just saying. We just don't know.
Indeed. And it's only speculation and all allegedly, if you are listening, Armie, we love you, please don't sue. On that bombshell, this has been the MO Podcast with me, Contumacious Ant.
And me, Atreya.
Thank you all so much for joining us, and we shall see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
The MO Podcast. The MO Podcast. The MO Podcast. The MO Podcast.